Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create faux mother of pearl using polymer clay. Now these are two real pieces that I'm going to be using as a reference today. So what you're going to need is 3 pieces of translucent polymer clay. I am using Primo today, and you're going to leave one just plain, so pop that to the side, and then for the other 2 pieces you're going to mix mica powder into them. And I've already done that with this one. This one has had pearl white mica powder mixed into it. Now I would strongly recommend mixing mica powder in rather than just using straight pearl white, as you can see quite a difference there in the colour. And if we look here, you definitely want to be working more on the warm tones when it comes to trying to create the mother of pearl. And the pearl white that's available in pretty much all of the different brands, it's too white, and also it's not translucent enough. So I would recommend instead of grabbing that, you can mix pearl white mica powder into translucent. However, if you don't have the mica powder to do that, then you can substitute it for pearl white polymer clay. Then I've got some champagne gold over here, or number 30 from my Etsy store. And you could also substitute this out for 18 karat gold in Primo. Again, not as good, but definitely can be a substitute. Okay. Just close that up, pop that to the side. Also, if you are going to be using metallic clays instead of making your own, always mix half metallic clay with half translucent clay so that you increase the translucency of the metallic clay. Okay, and everything I'm doing here I did with the one containing pearl white. And this does make a bit of a mess, as you can see, so I would recommend mixing it by hand at first before trying to apply it to your pasta machine, because if you were to mix this into your pasta machine right now, well, most of the mica powder would not end up in the clay, it would end up in your pasta machine. So just mix using your hand roller, and it should mix in fairly quickly. It just is a little bit messy. And you would of course do that with the pearl white as well. Okay, and here is how that should look. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 1/3 of this and 1/3 of the one mixed with pearl white. Grab that, and I am going to mix that together to create a colour that is in between these two. Okay, and that's how that should look. And those are the 3 colours that we're going to work with, as well as the translucent. Now, what I'm going to do is, these have been rolled out on the thicker setting of my pasta machine. I'm going to keep those like that, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to roll it out on the middle setting of my machine. These will be about 2 millimeters thick each. This is going to be about 1 millimeter thick. And there we go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack them in order of colour. So I'm going to start with the translucent, place that down, pop the pearl white on top of the translucent, cut, place another layer of translucent down, cut, place this one down on top, and I will trim away the excess clay in a bit. Then again, pop that translucent on top, and I will trim away later. And then this I actually need to just stretch a little bit. Don't need to be too strict with this. Okay, and place that down as well. Okay, flip that back over and trim away the extra clay, like so. Okay, and then this extra clay, mix that up into one colour. Okay, and just pop that to the side. I'm going to use that as a base. later on. Now with this, you can see how that looks, and what I want to do now is I want to roll this out on the thickest setting of my machine, thinning it out quite a bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my roller because it's quite thick, and if I put it through the machine right the second, it will end up with a little bit of distortion, to say the least. So I'll just use my roller to start that off. Okay. And everything I'm doing here, you could do with metallic clays. Just substitute out the mica powder colours that I made with the appropriate metallic clays, and you could do the same thing. Alright, that is pretty much thin enough. I'm going to pop that through my thickest setting, and that will now be about 2 millimeters thick. Then on the gold side, I am going to paint it, and this is the colour of paint I've chosen. It is mink pearl, which I think matches appropriately. You could use any colour of paint that you think works. The colour of paint doesn't really need to be too specific. Make sure that you've mixed it up before use, and I'm just going to apply a little bit, shouldn't need too much. And I might actually do a double coat of this. So I'll paint once, allow that to dry, and then apply another coat. And I don't want the coat to be too thick, it just needs to be there a little bit. Okay, allow that to dry and then apply another coat. Okay, and so I ended up doing 3 layers to get it to this point. And it is completely dry. I'm just going to lift that up, and you can see how that looks. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack it 4 times, and you can see there how that looks. I'm just going to take that, pop that down, and I'm not too worried about everything being completely even, so I'll just squish it into place as I need, because I'm encouraging that kind of distortion. And this one isn't going to fit perfectly, that's fine. Pop that down, squish. I'm just going to look how that looks. I don't think I want to stack it any more than that. No, I'll stack it once more. So you'll end up with roughly 6 layers. With some variation in between. And that actually works, because then if you wanted to, we could both make a piece like this, or you could take cuts from this and make abalone shell, or not abalone, pearl white. Oh my goodness, my words. Mother of pearl shell that way. And I might actually do a piece like that as well, so that we have how it would turn out with both. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to reduce that down until it's probably around 3 to 4 millimeters thick. Okay. I'm not going to run it through a pasta machine because it would be too thin then. Okay, and there we go. That should just about do. That will have also bonded all of the pieces together. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the outside of this. You can see how that looks. I'm just going to cut a couple pieces from that, and I'm not sure if this is going to work. I think if you're looking to have a piece where you can see the streaks, you probably don't want to reduce it. However, if you're going to make the Mokume Gane, like what I'm going to do now, you do want to reduce it. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to take that and I'm going to just roll that out and see if that exposes some of the lines a little bit. So let's see how that looks. Because again, the metallic particles that we have in here, I want to manipulate and the more you kind of distort and move them around, the more interesting the effect is once it's baked. Okay, and you can see how that looks. And I've got some imperfections on the surface there, so what I would recommend doing, especially if it's paint, just grab some isopropyl alcohol and run that over the surface, and what that's going to do is it will remove a thin layer of the clay and paint, and that's a good way to clean up anything like that without having to do something like shaving it with a thin blade. But then go and make sure that you clean it up because it will leave clay residue. Okay, and I think that looks quite good, so I'm going to use that. I'm not going to do it right now, but I am going to bake a cabochon using that. So that's that method, which is just kind of a side thought. The main piece is going to be using this. And this is where you want to have that little backing piece ready to go to the side. Just going to pop that over here. And also, since that other one worked quite well, I will just trim away the edges, and then maybe I can make a little more of the previous veneer using that. So I'll pop those to the side. Alright, and then this you can see is, you can't really see a lot of the layers because they've all blended together. What you want to do, let's see, I'm going to start with the translucent side facing up, and I'm going to burnish that down onto my tile so that it sticks. I'm just going to move it over to this side a bit so I can bring this here. Just take that and burnish it down so that it's stuck, and that just makes the process easier. Okay, and bring this over here. And then you're going to take a flexible blade and you're going to take divots out of the clay. And there you can see how that looks. Quite similar. Bear in mind also that this does have a fair amount of translucent in it, and translucent clears up once it's baked. And all I'm going to do is I'm not actually going to apply it just yet because I want to have that a little more strategic. So I'm just going to place it on a piece of paper so it doesn't stick. And then continue cutting out pieces like so. And I'm actually quite happy with that result already before even trying to sand or sculpt it into anything. That looks quite convincing already. So just continue taking those little pieces off, and don't go too deep because you want to be able to use the base piece of this. Yeah, just keep going. Okay, and that should just about do. Then for this, which is just the base, you're just going to grab that and give it a burnish just to flatten it out and remove the unevenness of the piece. Then once you've done that, then you can arrange all of those extra little pieces off to the side on this piece of clay, and then you'll have two mother of pearl veneers. And there we go. Just to lift that up off the tile, and that's how it looks. Pop that to the side, bring this over, and then the way that you arrange the pieces is completely up to you. Just place them down and overlap them slightly. And don't worry if some of the background clay pokes through, because it does match with our current colours, which is why I did mix it up from the colours, because it means that you don't have to worry about covering every teeny tiny little bit. Just focus on the pattern and arrive at something that you think looks nice. Okay, and here is how that turned out. And I am actually really happy with how that turned out. I'm not sure how well the camera is able to pick up the shift of those powders, but it really looks good. And this is before it's even baked, so anytime you work with translucent and metallics, it's always going to look better after it's baked. And this one definitely looks better than the one where it's just a plain slab. Again, not sure if that's picking up all that well. And then I took the scraps, like I said, and I made another piece like the one that we made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a few different things. This one I really like, and I would feel that it would be a pity to break it up too much. So I'm going to grab a little porcelain bowl and I'm going to make a mother of pearl trinket dish. And so I'm just going to grab this circle cutter. And I'll have a link to all of the tools and supplies that I used in today's video in the description, because a lot of them I do make and sell on my Etsy store. Put this to the side, we'll make the feet of the trinket dish later with that so that it matches. Then this actually would make quite a nice coaster if you made a set of coasters. Okay, and that is what the back is going to look like. If you wanted to, you could add even more little slices to the back so that the whole thing looked like mother of pearl. Now I'm just going around the sides to smooth it. I'm going to grab that and go place this in, and I'm just going to create a gentle dome. I'm not going to go the whole way down, I'm just pressing it down far enough that I get the desired dome. Like so. And I'm going to bake it like that for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. And just spend a little bit of time, make sure you're happy with the dome. If you can find a trinket dish that has the correct kind of dome, that's always better. But this is something you can do as a substitute. Okay. Then, with these pieces, I want to create some cabochons. So I've got this nice little raindrop cabochon mold, and I'm just going to take this, and I'm actually cutting it at an angle so that I don't have the stripes going straight down or straight to the side. I'm just going to pop that into the mold, and then the extra clay that I've got just kind of hanging around on the sides, I will take and fold over and use to fill up the rest of the mold. Because again, working with a lot of translucent clay, so if you ever do need clay to, like for instance, create a backing for pieces if you are cutting out earrings, or in this case to fill out a mold blank, you want to make sure that the clay that you use matches the clay, the mother of pearl clay in colour, because it will be visible to a certain degree. Any backing is going to make a difference. So I tend to just work with the clay that I've got, and that way I don't end up with any discoloration. Okay. And that is going to be a little too much clay. You can see there on the front how that's going to look. And all you do there is you just grab a blade and just shimmy across the surface once or twice to pick up the extra clay along the edges. Like so. Okay. Then just go with your fingers and fold over the little fluffy bits that will be left. Okay. And I might make a pair of earrings from these. Now I'm just going to grab a baby wipe, and that will both allow my fingers to not stick, but also will create a slight texture on the back so that it's not fingerprint textured. Then unmold. You just kind of release it from the sides first, and then you can lift it off. Then run your fingers along the edge to smooth out any last little bits of imperfections, and then the rest is going to be sanding once it's been baked. Okay, and so what I ended up with, just bear with me for one moment. Going to bring over a piece of paper because that's what I'm going to bake on. But what I ended up with is two of these pieces, which is kind of the side or the grain of the shell. Then I took this veneer and I made two more cabochons. that being little square ones this time, which have quite a softer pattern, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how those come out once they're baked. And then finally I did take this and I moved it to a different bowl with a little bit of a shallower dip, and that I'm also going to bake and see how it comes out. Now all these are going to get baked for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. Then once they're done, grab your sandpapers and we're going to give them a sand, and that's going to truly show us how they're going to look, because right now they look good, but they're going to look even better. Okay, and here is how they look once out of the oven. And this one is already showing promise even before sanding. I don't know if the camera's picking up the colour shift there, but it really is looking fantastic. And I'm really quite happy with it, so I'm going to go ahead and decorate the back so that it looks like shell as well, because I really think this is going to turn out well. These pieces also show a lot of promise, but they need some sanding to get them up to snuff. And these ones are also going to look nice, but I think out of all of them they're the ones that I'm the least excited for. The effect is soft, but I definitely would buy the effect more in terms of realism with these two. Now I'm going to put these to the side because they just need to be sanded. This one I need to do the backing. So I've kept this. This is still going to be for the feet, but then I also have the leftover veneer there. I have this piece, and I basically kept all of the scrappy pieces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just combine them all together, and I'm going to use that to kind of create a shell-like effect. I'm also going to use this, so what I'm doing is I'm going to cut out my 4 feet, and then the leftover clay I will use as well. So just grab yourself those pieces, there we go, and then that will leave a fair bit in terms of scrap. And I don't want very large feet. Where's my blade? I shouldn't be picking those up by hand. There. Just shimmy those off the tile and pop them onto a piece of paper, ready to go in a bit once the back has been finished. There we go. Okay, just popping that to the side. Alright, and then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to strip that into 4 pieces. 5 actually. I'm just going to lay that on top of each other as well. Okay. Just piecing that together. Okay. Then I'm just going to cut that in half and stack. And then press that all together so it's one piece of clay. And let me know in the comments below what you think so far. Will you be trying this technique? So far I think it's quite effective, and I'm thinking about how to translate it into abalone shell, because this especially I think looks really nice. So I'm going to see about turning that into abalone. Let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested in seeing that. And if you liked the video so far, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, as I do videos like this pretty much every single day now, and I'm sure you won't want to miss a single one. And if you have requests, leave them below and I will also get to those as soon as possible. This one was a request as well, so there's a number of those coming out. Alright, then once you've got yourself a slab of clay, you're going to just take thin slices, because I don't want the back to be very thick. I don't need it to be thicker. I just want enough clay to cover the back. So I'm just going to take thin slices, like so. And then I'll just place them together, and then I'm going to roll it out, and we should get a similar effect to this. And it will clear up even more once it's been sanded. Okay, and just pop that together. And don't worry about overlapping pieces as well, that's fine. If anything, you want to do that a little bit to hide some of the seam lines. Then give it a burnish to get all of those pieces stuck together. And then I'm going to use my roller to stretch it out so that it is large enough to fit the bowl. Okay, and that just about does it. Lift that up off the tile, and you can see what that looks like. And then just take a little bit of time to work it with your roller. You're going to have to roll, then pick it up every once in a while, and roll again, stretching it out. You can put it through a pasta machine, but I'm always nervous to put things through pasta machines because you never know if you're going to get a little bit of clay residue from the last thing that you ran through, and so I prefer to roll my veneers out by hand so that I avoid that, because that's the saddest thing when that happens. Okay, and that's more than large enough. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of translucent liquid clay. I'm using Kato, but you can use any translucent liquid clay you may have access to. And I'm just going to pop that onto the back of the piece, or back of the veneer, the bit that's going to get stuck down to the bowl. I'm just going to smooth that over. Okay, clean your fingers, pick that back up. Grab this and place that over the top, and then just start smoothing it into place. Make sure there's no air bubbles, like here's a little air bubble here. You want to make sure that you push that out, because that would leave an uneven finish once it's baked, because it would rise and start making a bump on the clay. Okay, and give it a good smooth, make sure everything is stuck down, and then grab a craft knife and just do a general trim around. Don't worry about being exact. And just remove that extra clay, and then once that's out of the way, then I will do a more exact trim. There we go. Okay, then let's pick up. Okay, and then just take that clay and pinch it right up to the edges, like so, so that it sticks a little more, because the liquid clay can make things move around a lot and be a little tricky to work with, especially when you're going to try to trim away the extra clay. So I like to pinch the clay over. Then I'll grab my craft knife, my sharp one, and then trim the clay around the edges. Again, not trying to get a completely perfect finish, just close to the correct shape, and then I will finish it off afterwards, because you're going to want to go around and pinch again so that you don't have a sharp edge. You're not going to finish it off with the craft knife. Go around the edge like so. And spend time doing this, because the more time you spend while the clay is raw, the less time you have to spend sanding out the imperfections that you missed. And this, it's always easier when it's raw. Okay, and that should generally do it. Then run your finger around to smooth, like so. Okay, and that's how it looks. There's still going to need to be sanding, so that is something to just bear in mind. But you can just take your finger and smooth it as best you can. But as you can see, it's not a completely smooth surface. Okay, then I am going to grab the little feet. I'm just going to smooth. And actually, seeing as I'm going to be putting the feet down, and I don't want to have to do another bake, I'm actually going to texture this. So I only want a light texture. So let me grab a baby wipe and just pop that down over the surface, and I'll use that to kind of introduce a texture just by lightly pressing along the surface. Okay, and that will do. Then I'm going to grab the feet, and I'm not going to stick them down yet. I'm just going to take them and pop them roughly into place, and you can generally move them around as need be. I'm half wondering if I even want the feet. I think I might actually just not place these down, and then I'll be able to give this a sand because I think it's going to sit nicely without it. So I'll pop those to the side. I don't think I'm going to use them. I'll instead just bake it exactly like this and then give it a sand because I've got rid of pretty much all the fingerprints, so I can just go over and smooth it. I'll bake that for another 40 minutes at Primo's recommended temperature, then give it a once over with a 400 grit wet dry sandpaper, and then show you how to just finish off all the pieces and get them to a high shine. Okay, and here is how it should look out of the oven. Now I've already sanded the back to clean it up, and I'm now going to show you how to sand the front. And for that you're going to probably want to go over it with some wet sandpaper, particularly a 400 grit, just to smooth it up a bit. And then once you've done that, you can bring over some sanding papers or polishing papers really, and start with that 400 and start going over the piece with that. The reason I recommend going with the wet dry sandpaper first is because it's a lot coarser than the polishing papers, and will just get rid of any major surface imperfections, but it doesn't do a very good job of actually bringing the piece to a shine. So I'd recommend just popping the piece through a 400 or a 600 grit, and that makes the job of the polishing papers much easier and much quicker. And that's all you should need per grit. Then you're going to just continue going up through the grits. This is a 600, and you're going to go all the way up through to the 8000 grit. And if you're looking for these polishing papers, I sell them on my Etsy store, Jessima Design. There'll be a link in the description below to the store. But I'm not sure if you can see it, but even now as I'm going through these grits, the colours are starting to bounce out and the metallic shifts are really starting to take hold. So this is going to look fantastic once it's buffed. Okay, and this is how it looks before I've even touched it with a buffing wheel. So it already looks fantastic as it is. Now, if you don't have a rotary tool, which is what I'm going to be using today, you can always grab a piece of denim or just use your pens. Just rub it really fast against your pens, and that will get it up to a pretty decent shine. So you don't have to use a rotary tool. Definitely does a better job, but if you don't have that available, any old rag will work. Then, to bring the shine up even more, I am going to be applying a little bit of Renaissance wax, as this will apply a even finer finish to it. And for that, I'm just going to apply that to the top, which will bring it back to a matte finish, so don't worry about that. And then also just apply that to the back as well, just smooth the whole thing over like so. Okay, just going to close that. Alright, and then I'm going to buff it. There we go, that's how it looks once it's buffed, and that, if I do say so myself, is incredibly convincing. Let me bring over the piece from before and let me show you what the flash looks like on there, and then you can compare it to the faux piece. It actually looks really good. Yeah, so I'm definitely thinking I'm going to try abalone because I can get the flash, which is the biggest deal when it comes to these. And here's what the back looks like. It also looks really quite nice. Not quite as convincing, but definitely looks quite pretty. This looks fantastic. This is the crowning achievement of today's video. Then I've also sanded and buffed these pieces, and you can see how those look. They look quite good as well. and these pieces, which turned out nice, but I don't really see them as mother of pearl. And this is a good opportunity to talk very briefly about how important it is to decide which side of your Mokume Gane stack you slice from, because if you remember, when we sliced, it was from the translucent side, top side, through to the paint side, which is bottom side. And that is quite important because the slices that were taken off of it display the paint line, and that is what's creating this really nice realistic effect. Whereas with this one, because of the way it was facing, it's kind of the opposite of this, and so the paint line ends up actually getting hidden, and therefore it creates a less realistic effect. So for this tutorial, always remember to cut it with the paint side facing down if you want the little offcuts to look like the mother of pearl. If you want the actual Mokume Gane sheet that you get left with at the end to look like mother of pearl, then cut it with the paint side facing up. I do hope that that made sense. But one or the other is going to end up looking less realistic than the other, just simply because you can't have both of them facing the correct way. But yeah, I do hope that you enjoyed that tutorial. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I didn't expect it to look quite as good as it does, particularly the flash. But yeah, if you would like to support the channel so that I can continue doing videos just like this one, please do consider becoming a patron or a member of the channel. There is a join button just below this video, or there is a link to my Patreon account in the description. Both are one and the same, where I show exclusive videos that are not available on YouTube and oftentimes go into even more complex projects. But yeah, it is a great way to support the channel and is greatly appreciated. But yeah, if you like the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.